Good morning, everyone. We're here in the media zone to try to dig a little bit deeper into the experiences that countries and regions have had in implementing the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda. We have with us from South Africa. Is that correct? No, I got the wrong list of people. I'm terribly sorry. Here we go. I have Ms. Hala El Said from Egypt, the Minister of Planning, Follow-up and Administrative Reform. We have Mr. Pernell Charles, the Minister of State, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in Jamaica. We have Mr. Kabe Zahedi, who is the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Sustainable Development from the UN Economic and Social Council of Asia Pacific. And we have Mr. Siim Kister, who is the Minister of Environment of Estonia. Welcome all. We are at the high-level political forum, which is a major forum for member states to take stock of what they're doing to achieve the SDGs. Could I ask you to start, perhaps, Madam Minister, with telling us a little bit about one of the main priorities that you've had for the SDG agenda in your country and what your government is trying to do to realize that priority?
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here at the high-level political forum and to share with the international community Egypt's achievements in Sustainable Development Goals. In Egypt, we are privileged with having 60% of our population under the age of 30. They are basically Egypt's main asset and they are our future. So now the government's main priority is basically investing in human capital, proper investing in education, in health, and capacity building and training is our main priority. We want to invest in our human beings because they are Egypt's most precious assets. This will ensure that all our efforts that we do in developing our country and in achieving the SDGs will be sustainable.
End with that because I wanted to come back to the Minister from Egypt. You started off talking about youth as the greatest asset that your country has. And in many respects, what we hope to achieve through the Sustainable Development Agenda is to create a situation where the youth have every prospect of leading prosperous lives, healthy lives going forward. Do you have a sense that this agenda is present for today's younger generation? Do they understand what it's all about? Do they feel engaged in it? And if not, what can we do to achieve that?
Well, that's a very important question because, as I mentioned, our young people are the main beneficiaries of the 2030 Agenda, and they are the implementers of it. So proper engagement of the young people is very important. We have different mechanisms and different platforms where we engage the young people. We have a platform that we construct through the Ministry of Planning, where it is a continuous dialogue. It's a sort of an NGO that they are always there with us at the Ministry of Planning, discussing the 2030 Agenda from all aspects. We have also this mainstreamed across all the 27 governorates through different universities. A group of students from different universities are basically engaged in the discussion of the 2030 Agenda because, as His Excellency the Minister was saying, we need to imprint this in the students' minds, and that they are the beneficiaries of this 2030 Agenda. We have this platform of 2030. We have entrepreneurship programs that help them across all universities also of Egypt that help the students, train them to be the future entrepreneurs because we cannot, as a government, find enough jobs for our people, so we need them to create jobs for themselves and for others. We also have a sort of a national dialogue that is called Youth Forum. This Youth Forum is attended by His Excellency the President of Egypt and top officials in Egypt. This is basically conducted, I think this is unique in its kind because this is basically conducted every 2 to 3 months, and it ended up with what we call the International World Youth Forum that happened last November. So finding the proper mechanism, transparent mechanism, and engaging the youth, I think, is key in achieving the SDGs.
We spoke of jobs, we spoke of youth, we spoke of digital technology and the possible technology divide. And the challenge that we face, of course, is to marry these different trends together. Given that we have this amount of technological innovation happening at increasingly rapid pace, it's going to change the nature of jobs. What do you think is an appropriate way to deal with that? I'm not asking for a solution, but how should we deal with the fact that things are changing so rapidly and causing a lot of uncertainty, especially in the eyes of the younger generation, as to what their potential job is going to be and what their contribution to society and to the Sustainable Development Agenda might be? Mr. El Said?
Well, I think we tell our young generation that they have to think green. They have to make all their efforts sustainable, whether it is economic, social, or environmental, because this is their future. So they have to be keen on making everything green. Second, they have to use technology responsibly, because although that technology will lead to some jobless opportunities in such segment, but there is also a better chance for having more decent jobs in other sectors, like coding and in different sectors in technology. Third, they have to be well engaged with the government and with the civil society, because their proper engagement will make our future better. And finally, we need them to act quickly, because the whole world is eager for this transformation. And finally, I tell them there is no end for learning, capacity building, and education. Continuous education and capacity building is key for the development and for the well-being of our countries.
I think that's a very fitting way to draw close to our little brief discussion. Thank you all very much for joining us here today. We heard a lot of experience from the ground and a sense of what we can do better, but also the optimism that when we bring all of the elements together and work in partnerships, we can indeed do better and realize the SDGs. So thank you all very much for your attention.
Everybody smile. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.